This is just a quick video showing you how you can take a journal article and turn it into an audio file. I started doing this 2 or 3 years ago. I have a long commute to and from work, so I wanted to use that time in some kind of productive way. Now, there's no substitute for reading an article and spending the time doing that, and certainly listening to text-to-speech can be somewhat monotonous, but over the last couple of years I found that I really do get something out of that commute time, and oftentimes I'll listen to an article, and then if there's certain details I need to go back and actually read the article and spend some time with it, then I can do that. Some articles are better, I think, to record than others. Review articles, tutorial articles, research articles, not so much, because you really don't want to listen through a lot of the details of the methods section. But sometimes I'll just record the introduction in the discussion section of a research article, and then go back in and read the methods section. So here's a review article, and what I do is just copy the text that I want to listen to my clipboard. I'm on OS X, and I use a little program, a great program called Keyboard Maestro, and it allows you to write little macros to do things like, for example, I want to append this copied text to the text that I just copied onto my clipboard. So I have one long bit of text on my clipboard that I'm going to paste into the next program rather than going back and forth. Okay, so I'm going to do this on my own here, and I'll come back. Okay, so here I've pasted this text into a program called TextSoap, and what TextSoap allows me to do is to clean up the text in some way. So, for example, when I'm listening to an article, I really don't want to listen to all of the in-text citations. So I've written just a little macro here, remove parentheses. In other words, remove everything inside a parentheses. So I'll just click that, and you can see that it has cleaned up all of those in-text citations, so I don't have to listen to them. And depending on the paper, you can write other kind of rules that are useful. So, for example, sometimes if I have a paper that has lots of acronyms, I quickly write a rule for those acronyms to put them into their original terms, remove things in brackets, superscripts, etc. So I've cleaned up the text. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that text back to my clipboard, and I am going to put it into the text-to-speech software that I use called Narrator. So paste that in there. So now you can see there are some irregularities with the formatting of the paragraphs. It really doesn't matter that much when it comes down to the sound of the text, in terms of the duration of pauses that may or may not be there, so I don't really bother cleaning those up. OS X has a very good voice built into it, Alex, and what I'm going to do here to start off is I'm going to adjust the speed of the voice so it kind of hits that sweet spot of being intelligible but not too slow.
RG had aphasia and was being asked to.
So that's a little bit too slow for me. Now, the only thing I don't like about Narrator is that it doesn't allow you to store your speed settings or give you a numerical value, so I have to kind of play around with it a little bit.
RG had aphasia and was being asked to carry out a naming test. When shown a picture of a foot, he produced the following: foot, nose, feet, shoe.
Okay, so I'll go just slightly faster. I like narrator because it allows you to exaggerate the inflection a little bit of the speech, and I feel like that helps a tad.
RG had aphasia and was being asked to carry out a naming test. When shown a picture of a foot, he produced the following: foot, nose, feet, shoe, the shoe itself.
Now you can play around with voices, and there are commercially available voices that you can purchase, and some of them are good. And Tom is a voice from Kepstrel, and I like this voice also. Let's see here.
RG had aphasia and was being asked to carry out a naming test. When shown a picture of a foot, he produced the following: foot, nose, feet.
Let's try that speed one more time.
RG had aphasia and was being asked to carry out a naming test. When shown a picture of a foot, he produced the following.
So that sounds about right. So now I can export this as an AAC file, and I'll just give it a quick title so now I know what it is. And now you can see it's going to go through. It doesn't take too long to generate an audio file from a text. I'm going to pause the recording here and come back when this is done. So here I've got my audio file that I just created.
RG had aphasia and was being asked to carry out a naming test. When shown a picture of a foot, he produced the following: foot, nose, feet, shoe, the shoe itself, but the knife seems more strenuous than anything else. Even this small sample makes it clear that RG had jargon aphasia. His speech was fluent and easily articulated, but very difficult to understand. So
this recording is an hour and 12 minutes long, and that was for a journal article in Aphasiology that was about 14 pages long, 9,100 words. Before I wrap up here, I just want to mention that the Kindle Fire, has good text-to-speech capability, and so I use that to download books, speech pathology books, for example, that have Kindle versions of them, and then I can listen to the books during my commute. And books are, I think, good to listen to because, like journal articles, they're written in a way that I think is just easier to process when you're listening. Clearly, this is not as good as reading, but again, particularly if you're already somewhat familiar with the topic, using this as a way to get some productive listening during your commute is really useful. Thanks.